G'day guys, it's Calvin from the Coaching Company in New Zealand. I've been working on this black Hilux and it's now up and driving. And I've taken it away from the workshop and brought it into my little home workshop. I've got the gravel on the ground. It's actually horrible because it tracks inside. But I got a lot of tools here and I'm in charge of finishing off all those last little bits. The wiring was a complete mess in this thing, and Jace cut it to pieces, cut a whole lot of wires out of it, and I kind of knew where the water temp was, and it has an oil pressure sensor, like the factory style one. It's got other gauges in it anyway. We've got these little gauges here, and we've got an extra tacho gauge added up here. Fuel gauge and volt gauge work, but we've got these two left to go. Oh, can we see them? So the oil pressure, which is pegged full up, and water temp. So those are our gauges and a tacho. I've had this little thing added. I'm gonna ditch that. That's leaving. And I'm going to make the factory one work. Okay, so that factory tacho there. The gauges generally are pretty simple to get going and get working, but there's still a lot of guys that seem to struggle with it. So I'm getting it in, and as I said, I hooked this to bits. Jason's done most of the cutting. We'll show you what he cut out. Threw it on the back here. It was the red wire. Yeah. So that's all the crap that Jace cut out. So that's looking a heap nicer. And he's added that stuff in there. Much neater and tidier. But because it was such a mess, like in here there's still a bit of a mess. We're not going in there. He's had a little bit of a sort up under here. I thought there's this yellow blue wire right here. And I thought that's going to be the oil pressure, but turns out it's not the oil pressure, it's the turning the vehicle off. I'll show you. Watch this. See, so it starts and runs, and then when I take this one and I touch it up here, yeah, oh, there's some ticking noises and it blows a fuse. Doesn't start anymore. So that's not good. That's definitely not oil pressure. It's that one. Now we'll start. Woo. So I've got to investigate what that wire is anyway. This one's actually got so for a diesel, they've had like an idle up, which just works on the throttle pedal. I'm going to take that out too. And I'm going to get into here and have a bit of a look. Oh, actually, I'll show you the water temp. So we're going to turn the key on. We're going to turn the fan off. And we see the water temp is at a low. You see that oil pressure? Let's get in there. See, that oil pressure is pegged to the full hot. So we've got to address that. Oh, full pressure. Full pressure. Of course, this one's had a different loom fitted. It was all these. It was this area here that was the worst. What do I do with my test light? It's really hard to test without a test light, eh? Take the test light, okay, and this is just an ordinary, it's like a $5 Kiwi test light. And we're going to earth one side out onto the engine. And on this one there happens to be this multi-plug here, and there is a yellow blue wire right there. Sorry, it's a yellow green. Yep, it's a yellow green right there. We get a test light, okay, and I go on the back of that yellow-green wire. And when I go in, you'll notice, see, the test light just starts to glow. Pretty happy with that intake actually for a cheapy one. We come back in here, and you'll see that water temp has now come up. So that is the correct one for the water temp. So we found the water temp sensor wiring. Jason's already put a plug down by the ECU, so he's got a little plug down there for me. But that doesn't solve my tacho and what this wire is, or the oil pressure. So dash comes out, this cluster comes out, and we'll have a bit of a look in there, eh? Okay, we've got the dash out, we've got the, well, unscrewed, got the shroud out. Just put all this on a plug. So I just cut the earth off, and she's going to come out. At least I think it's going to come out. It'll come out. I'm telling you, it's coming out. See, came out. Yeah. Side cutters. Ta-da! So this was a cable one. See, we've got this wire here, and it's yellow blue, but it's tapped in over here. It's tapped into a black yellow, which is normally ignition on a Toyota. And guys often say, hey, what color is this wire, what color is that wire? So don't get too caught up on colors. What I did is I looked at that, and I got my cluster, and that's the positive for the oil pressure. There's a positive there. There's oil, it's got oil written on it. I know it's upside down. There's a positive, there's a T for temp, there's a P for pulse for the tacho. And interesting enough, this screw was loose. Chances are it's had a piece of wire wrapped directly onto there. And then you just trace it. It comes up here. It was the second one past the bridge. Water temp, it's the first one past that bridge. And oil pressure is the third one. And then you grab the plug. 1, 2, 3. That happens to be a yellow blue. Oil pressure. You see why I thought that might have been oil pressure? First one past the bridge is yellow green, which we know from out in the engine bay. And then this one's a black wire. And so this is a diesel one. So tacho should be over in that master plug over there. Oil, I would have expected to be on the right hand side, over this side of the vehicle. But of course it's had that sensor put over there, but it doesn't make sense that it's pegged out. It doesn't make sense at all. Doesn't have continuity with earth. Alright. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a bit of investigations. Water temperature is actually just down here at that plug under there. There's a tacho just down here, and the main oil pressure is actually way over that other side. So I'm going to do a bit of a sort out, bit of checking. Well, the oil pressure sensor is over there. So I'm going to come up with a bit of a plan, work out how I'm going to make all this actually work nicely. And I'm going to cut this wire out. When you have these off, just check that these don't fall off. It's fallen in there. Where would you like your oil pressure? anywhere you want. That's not meant to do that. Well, that one's working. I was fiddling. The little bimetallic spring had moved.
Smoke? Are we making smoke?
No, just hammer it on.
Okay.
If it makes smoke, it makes smoke. We can't break it because it's already broken.
This is true. We can break it more though.
The result is it's broken. I reckon that's a pretty positive result actually.
It still functions, isn't it?
It's now functioning, so the little hook in the back of there had moved and then the needle was in the wrong spot. Just let it all the way off. But those are pretty slow, these units. I can actually trigger this from the link if I wanted. So we now know it works. I just put a PWM to it, like a pulse width modulation from the link. And link is getting oil pressure, and I've done that. So if that sensor isn't any good, that one over there.
That's a good one.
Yeah, if that's no good, take that away. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to very carefully clip this onto here. Okay, is that clipped on nice? Not going to short out or anything?
That looks alright.
And now we're going to give it some oil pressure, right?
That's basically earth, isn't it?
Well,
That is what it is, the earth.
There you go, hold that. And I'm going to give it an earth.
If there's any responsibility. Maybe a little bit. Not much. Oh yeah.
They're really slow.
Yeah, no, it is pretty much.
So it's got some oil pressure.
Yeah.
That's an indicator that it has got some.
Yeah. It goes not quite as high at first quarter mark, but it doesn't tell you how much that is, isn't it? It just goes more than before. More than zero.
It does actually move up though.
Yeah, when you're in it, and it moves up a little bit at idle. But warm engine at idle, you wouldn't have a whole lot of oil pressure.
Got 3.5 bar.
That's fair amount.
Nearly 50 psi.
Yeah, so that is, I wouldn't think that that's showing me 50 psi with that amount of that lift. I mean, it's a bit out, the calibration is a bit off, I suspect.
Recalibrated?
Oh, I'd be more satisfied with that. That would look, that looks a bit better.
We gave it more oil pressure.
It just says L low and H for high, so. Looks more plausible if you ask me. It has to have a perception of looking correct, because it's not an actual measurement. There's no measurement there.
Does it drop to 0?
Let's wait and see.
We'll just turn the key off, eh? I'll just turn the key off like that.
Yeah, definitely, we've definitely got enough. I don't think it's moving now.
Oh, that's good enough. I'm pretty happy with that.
It appears to, it has a correct appearance.
Well, it's got the proper oil pressure gauge in the truck.
Yeah.
Plus it's got the link.
Yeah.
which has got oil pressure in it.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I think something that's working and appears right in the truck better than something that I ignore it which is faulty.
It actually goes to 0, so that's good. I'm happy.
Oh yeah, it is going to 0. Yeah, you're right.
Awesome. I can put that in now and connect it up.
Yep, look a little bit neater.
It's actually really, really important that sender unit is the same as the gauge, matches the gauge.
Oh,
so
that's right,
often
yes.
they're not matched.
That's right, and they do weird shit.
Toyota have several different versions, just for fun. Right, I'm going to put that back in the cluster. We've now
your
adjusted
resistance
it.
range on this must match the resistance range on that, doesn't it? That's essentially what it comes down to.
I'm happy with that. I'm really happy with that. Let's put it back together. Yeah, so 2L, that sensor down the side of the block. Into there somewhere. There's not a plug actually.
So for
But it's long gone and it was all messed up anyway. And then Jason's gone in and cut it to pieces. Any extra stuff in there he's cut out. And there was no extra actual wires hanging out though. They'd already been got at. Yeah, that's just got to be earthed. That's this noise suppressor. So that's a, again, what is this? It's a noise suppressor. Now I actually think that, I got a feeling this is Tacho here. I'm just going to probe into that wire, being that it's black wire.
Something over here too. I think it's pretty nice with the colours, but
That's will be.
I was thinking indicator maybe, but there's nothing on there. It's probably down here actually.
It could be the second washer bottle.
No, yeah.
For some models, I don't actually know what. Oh, or it could be indicator actually.
No, because I think it's indicator there, isn't it?
Again, they have extras for different models. Right, I'm going to poke this in here. I'm going to poke this in here. Hang it off there. We good? Yeah, we good. We've got a blue plug there. So I got my multimeter. I'm going to continuity test. So I've run a wire in from a black wire under the engine bay that I suspect is the oil pressure. No, Tacho, sorry, Tacho. And I've got continuity. My multimeter doesn't beep. It hasn't beeped for years. And it's second one passed, that one there. Voila! Fuck yeah. Continuity. So that's the Tacho wire in that plug under the engine bay. My question is now, how do I utilise that the best? How do I get to it the best? So normally I would tap into all the factory wiring in the vehicle, but this one really has been cut up. So I'm kind of considering doing a bit of a revamp. And I'm kind of thinking I convert the water temp wire that's over there, or the Tacho wire, either of them would be fine. And I tap it onto that oil pressure, and then I change it around at the back of the dash here. And then I run a little loom down to the link. And because I've got water temper at the link. So it's like right there, there's a plug we've already put in. You hang off the side. So in there will be water. I might even have a Tacho wire in there if I'm lucky. Jason might have given me a Tacho wire, or I may have to power it from the link and pull the resistor out of the dash. So I don't like running extra wires if I can. I like to use the factory stuff. But as this one has been cut up, it's not the best example to be working on, but at the same time it's a good example because it shows what people get when the thing's been cut to pieces. So I'm going to confirm what I've got in the way of Tacho, whether I've got a high level Tacho. So sometimes Jace, when he makes the looms, if I ask him, he puts in a high level Tacho directly off the igniter from the negative side of the coil. And this dash has been swapped. It's not the dash out of this truck. This truck would have had an oil light and a temp gauge, wouldn't have had a volt gauge. And it wouldn't have had a petrol tacho because it was a diesel vehicle, funnily enough. So that dash has been swapped and changed around, or at least the tacho has been. So I am thinking, if I've got that wire from the negative there, it's going to be down at that link, and I just run a couple of wires up to the dash, and that makes it nice and simple. And he generally gives me a power wire down there. I might put a warning buzzer in this one as well, so if it gets hot, if it loses oil pressure, there'll be a horrible buzzing noise, which is bloody annoying. Though I did use my last buzzer yesterday on a boat, but I can fit one of those in nice and simple. And then we can actually get and tune this when it's got a dash that's working, and hopefully everything else that's working, we can get out and tune this vehicle. So that's my tacho wire, which presently goes under the dash, under the engine bay, so out by that oil pressure. That was my water temperature, that was my oil pressure, but I've swapped my oil pressure for my water temp. So my water temp wire, which is in that plug under the dash, under the engine bay, has now been given to the oil pressure sensor. So that's swapped to the oil pressure hole. Tacho, that's going to become water temp, and that one there is the glow plug light, which is going to be the check engine light. Yeah. So that's going to be a check engine. So I'm going to put those ones, put a plug on them, put through plug, and I'm just going to drop it down because they're literally there. You know, they're right there. So instead of doing this big loom all around the vehicle, I'm going to tap in at the back of the dash. But I've put it so it's back from the main dash plug, and then I've chopped that other extra power wire that was makes the vehicle stop wire, and I'll just make a little loom that runs down, plugs in. Configure.
You're basically going to get your information from the ECU, because the ECU's got that information, isn't it?
No, it's not actually coming from the ECU. With the check engine light is.
Yeah, just pre-ECU then.
Yeah, so in the loom, so the tacho wire, because this one's had a petrol tacho,
added into it.
That's a petrol one because it goes to 8,000 RPMs.
Right, not many diesels will go that fast.
So it runs off the negative of the coil.
Oh, okay.
So Jason's run the wire in, which will be configured just right. So that's that wire there.
Yep, easy.
And then there's a water temp, which will be that blue wire that comes from the sensor on the engine. And then there's some auxiliary outputs from the computer for the check engine light. And I'm going to put a warning buzzer on it. So if anything gets too hot or it loses oil pressure, the buzzer will go off. Cool. I'll put some warnings in.
Cool.
So of course the water temp sensor, I got to do a proper video on this one, but on the engine here, you've got your EFI temp sensor there, and then a single plug pin wire right there. That's for the dash. So it's the front. There's the top coil down in there. There's my signal wires there. There's my dash plug. And hopefully that's water temp. Jason would normally use blue. It's good. Tacho is green orange. And I reckon that's an auxiliary output from the computer. Just going to be a check engine light. Yep, plug them together. Up to the dash side. Little mini loom. Wish I can zip tie in there nice and neatly. Right, let's put this back in there, eh? I might do it with my little hands. I've got to reach behind and do the speedo.
Oh, you're going to do that as well? Okay.
I'm going to tempt fate, do it once, put it in. It's going to be right.
If it ain't, come out again.
Got a battery light, it's positive. Handbrake light, it's positive. We've got a check engine light glowing. Possibly should have to turn it on in the computer.
Oh.
I haven't turned it on yet.
What's your
oil pressure's coming up?
Yeah.
So oil pressure's actually, it should go a lot higher than that because the engine's cooled down. No, I don't reckon this is correct. I don't reckon it's running at 7 bar. That one's doing what it should. This one's coming up. So what temp are we at? We're at between 40 and 50. Yeah, can you wiggle that plug on that sensor for the oil pressure? The gauge one, that 3-pin plug that you wiggled before.
Yeah.
Can you go wiggle that again, please? And oh, Tacho works. Yeah.
Oh, that may not have been on quite right.
There's definitely a problem with that plug just there, eh?
Yeah, that's funny. It's like
It's not going in properly.
Nah, it's not.
It was an issue the other day. Can you unplug it, please? Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get you a rubber seal for it.
Right, the condom on, eh?
That feel better?
Yeah, that's good.
That works better too.
Not me.
And see this gauge, that water temp gauge, is in the bottom hose.
Yeah, that's not quite right, is it?
So it's not actually in the correct place. So this one would be is in a better place.
Yeah.
Nowadays I wouldn't run any of those. I'd feed every signal to the link.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
And then just run one of those little single gauges that does everything.
Oh, yeah, but
a can gauge.
But why do you need all these extra gauges when you've already got up on your dashboard,
Yeah.
mostly?
Well, it's nice to have an accurate one as well, but I can do it with a single gauge. I can do all of those with one gauge.
Yeah.
And a slightly better computer. This has got an atom. It's got a little atom rather than the monsoon. I got a dashboard that works. I'll just sort that
And
check
what
engine,
about
eh?
your check engine?
I'll go turn that on. I'll grab the laptop, eh? Right. Oh, I think I got it on the right output. Check engine light. Got the laptop, of course. Yep. Well, I'm just checking I can turn it on and off. You know, I can test on, test off.
Well, you're testing its function. That's what you're doing there. I just tweaked to what you were doing, and now it's turned on, so you're capable of actually testing its function of its functionality. So
Store that into the ECU.
does the engine's likely to stay on while it's not running? So does it theoretically it's a fault when the engine's not running?
Yeah.
It sees a fault when the engine's not running because that's kind of faulty. Right.
It's just said to not go off until you start the vehicle.
Yeah.
So oil pressure sitting at 2 bar, and it's actually just showing on the oil pressure gauge up there, so that's nice. See that there? That is not 900 RPM. That is 2,800. I'll pull that face off and we're going to adjust that. I've done videos of this before. Those are grade A. Oh, ouch. In here, so there's a little potentiometer. It's just down here. It's about there. So watch this. Ooh, I missed it. Oh, I don't know. I lost it. Oh. So let's bring the engine up to 1,000. And then I'll bring it up to 2,000. Out there. Yep, that's 3, 4. Close. It's 900. Got to be happy with that. So for the guys that want to know, it says potentiometer just there. That's the potentiometer you adjust. I would say it's a V6 one and it's never been right. And that's why they put that other aftermarket one in, because they couldn't get that one correct.